I'm here today to dare you to be yourself, to encourage you to look beyond what society sees as perfect or beautiful, and to hopefully inspire you to take the first few steps to really being your true self. And by doing that, I'm going to do that by sharing with you a journey that I went on myself. So first things first, who am I? My name is Keane. I'm 22 years old. I am a culinary entrepreneur student. Yes, that is a degree. And I'm also a Paralympic swimmer. I'm also a very happy person. I try to have a smile on my face about 90% of the time. And the place that I found most joy in my life has been in the pool. As you can see from the photo here, I actually had a very good race that day, so that's why I'm so happy. Another thing that you probably noticed about me is that I'm a bit different. I was born without my left arm from below the elbow. My parents were never given a reason why. It was just one of those things that happened. So unfortunately, I'm not here to tell you a cool story about how I was in a shark attack, so I'm sorry. Growing up, my parents always gave me the choice whether or not to wear a prosthetic. So when I was a really young kid, I probably would have worn it a lot more. Going to school, I learned to actually hate it. I found it really heavy, really awkward. I got really sweaty. I really didn't like it. It wasn't me, it wasn't part of me, and I didn't want anything to do with it. So I kind of made that decision for myself when I was about 5 or 6 years old. But then, as I got older, I discovered society, and I became scared. I started to notice people staring at me a lot. Anywhere I went, I could feel eyes on me. I remember when I was younger, I used to write letters to Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, basically begging to have two hands, begging to be normal. And obviously, that didn't happen. I started to grow really, really insecure about my body. And when I started secondary school, that's when I really started to hide myself. I used to wear baggy hoodies or heavy coats so that it would appear like I had two hands. I wouldn't go anywhere without my sleeves, no matter what the temperature was outside. And this was such a sad life to live. I was convinced that no one would ever love me. I was convinced I was never good enough. I was convinced that no one would ever love me, let alone fancy me, and that I was going to be alone for the majority of my life. But when I was 14, I started texting this boy, and I really, really liked him. I know. So we've been texting for a while, and we'd never met in person. So he didn't know that I had one hand. And the day before we were meant to meet up for the first time, I was petrified about telling him. But I decided, I have to let this guy know what he's in for. So when I texted him, and I had to wait for his response, and it was so terrifying. I was convinced that he would be disgusted and horrified, and that he'd think I was a freak, and that he wouldn't want me. But the truth is that he didn't care. His response was, why would that bother me? And the majority of the people in your life who matter, they really won't care about these things. But it took me a long time to realize that. So, as I said, swimming is my happy place. When I'm in the pool, there's nowhere to hide. I'm completely myself. All I have is my hat, my goggles, and my swimsuit. So the more I swam, the more confident I got, and the more I learned to love my body. And then I realized, I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm gonna put myself out there. So 3 years ago, on the first day of college, I rolled up my sleeves. And it was the most terrifying thing that I have ever done, but it was definitely the best thing I ever did. Because the minute I rolled up my sleeves was the day that my life really began. And a year ago, in Rio, in 2016, I stood on top of the podium with two other girls with my stump in the air, so proud of what my body had achieved. And if I had been born differently, I wouldn't have experienced anything that I have experienced in my life. And I love my body, and I love my arm because of that. And I used to be so afraid of being known as the girl with one arm. But now I love the fact that you're not easily going to forget me. And the most important thing about me is that I'm loved. And I've always been loved. But when I started to come out of my shell, that's when I really experienced a lot more love than I ever thought was possible. So my message to you today is to be brave and have courage. And the minute you accept yourself for who you are, and the minute that you start to love yourself completely, you can do anything that you set your mind to. Thank you.